Police Department. Hello?
I'm Antoinette Garibito.
Okay, whereabouts in Albuquerque? Hello? Antoinette, where are you? Antoinette? Hello?
This chilling call you just heard was placed in 1987, close to a year after 9-year-old Antoinette Gallardo was abducted from her front door. At the time of her disappearance, Antoinette lived in Gallup, New Mexico with her mother Penny and 2 younger siblings. Penny was a single parent of 3, which meant that Antoinette was mature for her age. One of her sisters described her as a mother to them. On April 6, 1986, Antoinette's mother left her and her 2 younger sisters with a babysitter as she went out for the night. Penny returned home around midnight. When she checked on her daughters, she found them all 3 fast asleep in their beds. Penny finally made it to bed herself around 3 a.m. Soon after, there was an unexpected knock at the door. It wasn't loud enough to wake Penny, but it did wake her daughters. Antoinette, being the mother-like figure of the 3, took it upon herself to answer the door. Her sisters remember her getting up to answer the door, but never returning to bed. At the time, they didn't think anything of it and went back to sleep. Most of the topics here on the channel contain gory, gruesome details YouTube won't allow me to discuss on a public-facing video. By joining our lowest Patreon tier, you will gain access to private, uncensored extended versions of most videos, where we go into more detail on the topic of specific videos. We will also be discussing a lot of unsolved cases, so I have created a private Discord for internet sleuths like myself who want to go over the details of cases and hopefully bring some closure to them. To get access to our private Discord, join our Detective Patreon tier. Your support is greatly appreciated and helps make this channel possible. Around 7 a.m., Penny got up and went to wake up her daughters. It was at that moment that she realized Antoinette was not in her bed. She frantically searched the apartment, as well as checking with the neighbors to see if they had seen her. After that failed, she proceeded to search the neighborhood. It wasn't until around 11 a.m. that Penny finally contacted the police after not having any luck finding Antoinette. In the initial stages of the investigation, there was little evidence to go on, and so the case quickly went cold. It wasn't until a year later, when the short but disturbing call was made, that the case had any movement.
Police Department. Hello?
I'm Antoinette Garibito.
Okay, whereabouts in Albuquerque? Hello? Antoinette, where are you? Antoinette? Hello?
In the recording, you can hear a girl identify herself as Antoinette, and even used her last name, pronouncing it accurately.
I'm Antoinette Garibito.
You then hear her scream in the voice of an unidentified woman yelling at her.
Hello?
Unfortunately, the call never led anywhere. The next development in the case was an alleged sighting in 1991 in Carson City, Nevada. A waitress at a diner reported seeing a young girl fitting Antoinette's description with 2 older people. The waitress told authorities that the young girl looked unkempt and timid, and it wasn't until the men and young girl had left that the waitress discovered a note hidden under the girl's plate asking for help and for her to call the cops. It was at that point the waitress realized, unbeknownst to her, that the girl had been trying to signal her for help. Unfortunately, by the time the waitress realized what was happening, the two people and young girl were long gone. In 1992, when Antoinette's case was featured on Unsolved Mysteries, there was another interesting lead in the case. It was revealed that Wendy, Antoinette's youngest sister, remembered seeing Antoinette get abducted that fateful night, but she was too young to understand what was happening at the time. But some people close to the case claimed that it wasn't Antoinette's youngest sister, but instead her 7-year-old sister, Sadie, who witnessed the abduction. Unfortunately, that was the last lead detectives received on Antoinette's case. To this day, there has been no other trace of Antoinette, and nobody has been charged in her abduction. This is one of the most chilling cases I have heard of due to the simple fact of how Antoinette disappeared into thin air without a clue of where she went.